Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and we have a lot to talk about today in terms of the Second Amendment. I'm going to give you guys an update on California's safe handgun roster and its status in the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about Michael Bloomberg joining the race, and we're going to talk about Attorney General William Barr's attempt at gun control. This channel is proud to be supported by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Make sure you check that link in the description box, become a member, and donate when you can. This is the grassroots organization that has grown into a huge movement in the fight for our Second Amendment rights. Okay, so let me go and start off by giving you guys a brief update as to what's going on with the California handgun roster. Now, this is easily the most asked question that I've had on this channel. I made a video on the topic back in February of 2019, talking about how the Firearms Policy Coalition had filed an amicus brief with the Supreme Court. It's now November of 2019, and it's pretty much been crickets ever since. Now, this is the case of Pena v. Horan. Okay, that's the handgun roster case. Martin Horan is the director of the California Department of Justice Bureau of Firearms. Now, this case really hasn't moved much since that February video, but for those people that just want the absolute latest, I'll give you the whatever movement we have here. So again, February 4th, Firearms Policy Coalition files that amicus brief with the Supreme Court. Martin Horan, again the director of California Department of Justice Bureau of Firearms, responds on March 6th with his own brief. On March 18th, there was a reply to the petitioners, which is Pena in this case. And then the last thing that we have, okay, so the last movement that we have here was March 20th of 2019. These documents were distributed for conference on 4/12 of 2019. So they were distributed for conference on 4/12 of 2019, and I haven't heard anything about it since. I mean, I wish there was something that I could tell you guys to say, you know, yay or nay, this is going to happen, this is not going to happen. But as far as I know, this is all the movement that we have. So as you guys know, when it comes to the Supreme Court, they're not that great at taking Second Amendment cases. Things sit there forever. Other cases get put ahead. And it's just, there's so much going on right now that it's just been sitting there. So for all those people that keep asking me what's going on with the California Safe Handgun roster, still sitting at the Supreme Court. We're waiting for any actual legitimate movement. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Attorney General William Barr proposing gun control. You know, if it's not bad enough that we have pretty much every single Democrat pushing for more gun control as the 2020 elections approach, now we have Attorney General William Barr, who actually wants some type of chain of ownership, expanded background checks, and a de facto registry. Okay, so a few weeks ago, Attorney General Barr submits a letter, and in this letter, he is trying to gain support for some new gun control measures. One of those is basically enhanced background checks and a de facto registry. Now, a couple of the bullet points that he has in here are somewhat disturbing, if you ask me, but they're definitely things that you're going to want to pay attention to. Now, he proposes a couple new forms if you're going to be doing some type of sale or transfer. One of those forms, just the title alone catches me off guard. The title of the new form that you would have to fill out is Bill of Sale, Chain of Title. Now, I don't know about you, but a chain of title sounds pretty disturbing when it comes to firearms because that has to do with a registry, essentially. You'd have some type of way to track the buyer, the seller, and the chain of title, so the chain of ownership for that particular firearm. Let me go ahead and read to you what he has here. So, Bill of Sale, Chain of Title. This form would record the details of the sale, including the identities of the buyer and seller, and be the seller's responsibility. So that to me seems like you're creating some type of searchable record that you can go back and you could essentially have this registry that would tell you who's owned it, who transferred it, what it is, who you are, and all that stuff that they're not supposed to have. They're not supposed to have a registry, but essentially this would make one. Plus, on top of that, you're talking about extending background checks. Right now, he's saying that if you were to go through a licensed FFL, obviously you go through a standard background check. He wants to expand on that, so even if you're in a gun show or even if you're here or there, no matter what you do, whether you're a commercial FFL or a private citizen, you're going to have to go through a background check through the NICS system. So this is Attorney General William Barr, who was assigned by Trump, and there was a lot of pushback on Barr because I think everybody knows that he is not very pro-Second Amendment. Now, the White House has said that they do not support this letter. They do not support Barr's ideas, but I've seen Trump before go very gun control very quickly and then try and cover it up and then, you know, somehow change his mind right before the election. So it wouldn't surprise me if Barr was going to be essentially the scapegoat on this one, where he's trying to get some type of universal background checks done while the president has some type of plausible deniability, because he could say, I opposed it the whole time. Attorney General Barr is the one that went ahead and pushed this forward. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about today is going to be Michael Bloomberg entering the 2020 race. And I get it, I'm a little bit late to the show, but I wanted to take some time and really evaluate whether or not this is something that we should be worried about, whether or not it's a valid threat, or he's just going to be a guy like Tom Steyer, which is another billionaire just throwing his money into the pit and, you know, not really moving anywhere. But Michael Bloomberg at least has that name recognition. We all know that Michael Bloomberg is one of the most anti-gun liberals on the face of the planet. He is the founder of Moms Demand Action, Everytown for Gun Safety. This guy is responsible for half of the gun control that's come down on the West Coast. I mean, this guy is one of the absolute worst, right? So there's a lot of people saying that he doesn't stand a chance because he doesn't have the support of the liberal media. Now, that might be the case. They don't like the fact that he had initiated stop and frisk in New York. They don't like the fact that he's a billionaire white guy, which is basically what they've been railing on Trump for this whole time. So how can they support a billionaire white guy for their side if they've just been doing nothing but talking crap about the billionaire white guy on the right side, right? So he doesn't really have the support of the liberal media, but does he really need it? That's the thing that I've been thinking about. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that Bloomberg actually has a chance. I know that's not the popular opinion, but I definitely think he's somebody that we need to watch out for, especially given how anti-Second Amendment he is. Now, if the mainstream media is telling us not to focus on Bloomberg, not to look at Bloomberg, don't worry about Bloomberg, that's probably exactly who we should focus on, because in my experience with the mainstream media, they're so bass-ackwards that just take anything that they say, flip it and reverse it, and you probably have the facts. So again, if they're telling us not to look, that's exactly what we should be doing. We should be looking. But Bloomberg's different than every other candidate that's out there. Unlike a standard candidate who has to open an office in a different city all across the country in order to let people know what their agendas are, what their platform is, you know, name recognition, all that stuff, Bloomberg has Moms Demand Action and Everytown for Gun Safety. They have their grinchy little hands in just about every major city across the entire country, and they're funded by Bloomberg. So they're going to do his bidding, or else the funding is going to stop. And that means that he has an entire nation of minions that's willing to go out there and promote for him because, again, he's the money, right? So he's the money. So unlike other candidates, Bloomberg's already established across the country. Now, yeah, he's got some things that he has to overcome, but just about every candidate that's out there has some things that he has to overcome. Stop and frisk, and then obviously the Democrats don't like the color of his skin or how much money he has. But those things are easily overcome if he can win over the public. And the fact that he has these different offices and such a huge social media presence with these, you know, anti-Second Amendment corporations that he has out there, I think that it's definitely something we need to worry about. He's not your typical candidate. This guy's got a lot of power. He knows a lot of people. He's got a lot of money. And again, if the media is telling us not to look, we should definitely look. So anyway, guys, there's a lot going on, especially in election year. You're always going to find a lot of Second Amendment stuff that needs to be focused on. But we all need to make sure that we pay very close attention to what's going on, because this is going to affect our future and our kids' future and our kids' kids' future. And we need to make sure that we preserve the America that they deserve. So I want to thank you all very much for watching. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.